by one Chris Watkins. Chris, so much for joining us, my guy. How you doing?
Anytime, man. Anytime. I'm doing well. Fresh off yesterday's doubleheader was a fun day in Sacramento. Kind of funny, I guess. Funny in a weird way that both teams end up losing, the A's and the Kings, last night. But it was definitely fun to just kind of do the thing. Have the experience of going out to Sutter Health Park, and then there's a bit of traffic on the way from Sutter Health to Golden One. It took me probably like 35 to 40 minutes just to go like 2 miles, but it was cool. It was really cool to just see the city out like that, and especially for a 12:30 first pitch. That was it was just a really cool day yesterday, and it was like 82 degrees, bro. Like the second you leave, all of a sudden the weather just gets perfect.
And it's terrible out here, so I mean it's like rainy. 30 degrees, so it's pretty brutal. Chris, did you go on the day that the A's won?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay. Well, I want to bring you in here because we never got to talk about this. I guess there was some stomper situation where
Stompergate.
Stomp the button.
Yeah, stomp the button afterwards So after they won, first of all, they played California Love, which was not Celebration by Kool and the Gang, which is what they used to do at the Coliseum. But then they did this weird thing where they panned to the two MCs and Stomper, the mascot, and they had a button on the floor, and they were like, get ready to stomp the button. And it was like 3, 2, 1, and then he stomped on it, and then nothing happened. And we were so confused because we thought like maybe it would light the Tower Bridge, maybe it would do something on the scoreboard. It just nothing happened, and then there was
we don't know what was supposed to happen.
It was like 5 seconds of just an awkward pause, and then they just took him off the scoreboard, and it was like Athletics win, and we were all so confused.
Yeah, okay. I can give you a little bit of clarity on that. Yeah, from what I understand. I guess it is supposed to be in the same vein as a light the beam thing, and from my understanding, I don't know if it's like 100% confirmed, but Stomper was supposed to stomp, I guess, on the button, and then to my understanding, fireworks were supposed to go off and or some sort of pyrotechnics along with it, and so that clearly didn't fire, but that's not the only. Like, I mean, Kyle, I don't know if you were there on for the national anthem on Monday, but I think Whitey talked about it a little bit, where they had a singer. Her name is Kristen, I believe. Shout out Kristen. She is a wonderful singer. I've heard her sing before. She was on The Voice, but the Sutter Health Park crowd did not get to hear her sing because they passed her the mic. Nothing. Give her another mic. Nothing. And then about 10 or so seconds of silence, and then they just kind of pump in like the like a terrible sounding like you downloaded it off LimeWire national anthem.
So that to me nightmare, because those are the same mics that we use, and I am in the control room. I pick up the mic. The mics are charged, and I walk around with 2 mics in case something like this happens, in case one dies. So clearly, I don't know if it was working MCs and then just decided to crap out or whatever, but that is a rough go.
Yeah, so I got to the bottom of that one as well. Shout out RJ. We all know RJ. He does the engineering for Kings games and for A's games as well. RJ was telling me that it was as simple as somebody had unplugged the receiver for those wireless mics, and so it was literally as simple as somebody had pulled the plug on it. So.
Wow.
Sometimes it could be incredibly frustrating trying to like unplug and plug in everything, and then sometimes it's literally just as simple as, did anybody check if the power's on? So
they're
working through it. They're working through it.
Just leave it. It's like I'm talking to baby Stiles. Just leave it. It just doesn't need to be touched right now.
Nope.
Chris, a lot of people kind of want to pull the plug on the King, but the
transition.
But they won 3 straight before losing to the Nuggets last night.
Yeah.
did you feel after the 3-game win streak? Did it make you feel any different? I know you've kind of been pretty firm in your thoughts on who the Kings are this season, but did it move you at all, that 3-game winning streak?
Not me personally. I think this team is very obvious who they are. Like, they're very inconsistent. They've shown some highs for sure. They've beaten Cleveland. They beat Boston on the road. Everyone will point at that. But they've also lost to Washington, and they've had multiple ups and downs throughout this stretch under Doug Christie, where it's looked like the season is completely done. And then we've kind of seen here recently, it looks like maybe he got the locker room back together, or they're still showing some fight, which is great. It could definitely go the opposite way. You see Phoenix, they've just completely laid down. Like they do not care. They're 1-2-3 Cancun all the way. I will say and give this team credit. They have not laid down. They have not given up on this season. I know they don't want to be in the play-in, but they definitely have shown that they understand that even though they have faltered throughout this year, there was still an opportunity to get something, salvage something from this season. And I'm just kind of dressing it up, Allen, because I just don't really feel differently about this team. Like it's great that they got those 3 wins, but I can't change my whole perception on this team. And I know you can maybe make the argument like they're getting more games together. Maybe you're seeing, a lot of people have pointed out it looks like Levine and Sabonis have kind of worked out some sort of connection or chemistry on the floor. I just don't think it's enough. And, frankly, I just kind of think that the competition that's ahead of them, I think they can get through the play-in, no doubt. Like they're going to get a home play-in game against a Dallas team that they've swept this season. Who knows who they're going to face in the second game. Right. I saw Brendan keeps trying to push. He's trying to hurt me, man. He keeps trying to push that we can play the Warriors in that play-in game as well. No. I just can't. I will not resign myself to even go there. But they can beat the Timberwolves. They can beat the Memphis Grizzlies. Like there's a lot of winnable games or matchups, I should say, in the play-in that I think this team can take care of, because we've seen, especially if the play-in game comes down to a fourth quarter, we've seen some big fourth quarter collapses, but we also know that DeMar and Zach LaVine have shown that they can turn it on. And if you're going to go bucket for bucket with them, good luck. Like not a lot of teams can do that. So in a weird way, I think that they're positioned pretty well to at least be competitive in the play-in. We'll see what happens in terms of the results. But I mean, we've said it all year. Like what is the benefit of going into that OKC series? And, I think frankly at best, like I don't see how you do it, but could you win 2 games of that series? I think that's probably the way of feeling the best coming out of it. But I won't say it does more damage than good, but I do think that there's some people out there who say like, oh, just make the playoffs. Like it's the playoffs. It's great. It's better than staying at home. I just don't necessarily know if that's true. Like I think if you play more games, sometimes that can really, really, especially in the playoffs, those can really reveal some warts that you might have not seen. And granted, information is good. You can make your team better moving forward. But I think that there's a chance, like if you... worst case scenario, you just embarrass yourself in those 4 games. It might be a situation where everyone's like, man, like, yeah, we salvaged the season, but this has the worst taste in our mouth leaving the year. And again, I think there's a world in which it does more damage than good.
Are you worried that the end of the season could lead ownership and Monty McNair? Well, number one, ownership leading to keeping Monty McNair. And in addition to that, feeling good to get back to the, hey, well, if Keegan doesn't go down, if Malik doesn't go down, if this or that doesn't happen, long story short, we're going to run it back. Are you worried that if they had missed the play-in, you can't deny any of that. But are you worried that you beat the Pistons? Hey, well, we beat the Pistons and the Cavs, and we snuck into the playoffs, or we took the Timberwolves to the very last minute and we didn't have Malik? Are you worried that the success that they're having could lead to the Kings running it back?
Frankly, yeah. Yeah, I am. And maybe, I guess you could say from like a fan perspective, that's probably a terrible mindset to have. But I do frankly think, again, I think you can do more harm than good in some of these situations. And I kind of clearly think if this team is focused on getting the best possible picture moving forward, how can we possibly maybe get this team finally to a championship level? I think we won't say they need to blow it up, but they kind of do need, I think, a little bit of a reset. I think bringing back DeMar next season would be a mistake. I think you should at least see what Domantas Sabonis wants to do. I've kind of been more so of the thought process that I don't care necessarily if they are better next year, but I hope that there's just something better I can sell myself on. I kind of feel like, and maybe this is crazy, but I feel like if we go out next year and, I'm not saying Sabonis and Levine have to go, but I'm kind of already chalking DeMar DeRozan out the door. I think if we go into next season with Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, Jake LaRavia, Devin Carter, those scrappy defensive-minded, or at least, have some defensive tendencies to their game, I think that there's a world where we can kind of, and I'm not promoting hiring Taylor Jenkins, but we can kind of Grizzlies this to where we could be competitive and probably finish 36. What's the difference really between 36 wins and 41 wins? I think at the end of the year is kind of where I'm at. It's if we're going to not be a successful team, I would much rather them be building towards something, have a youth movement, start to identify or start to have an identity with young players versus you have Domantas Sabonis who's pushing 30. You have DeMar who's on the wrong side of 30. You have Zach who's in the middle of his prime. That feels a little bit like you're stuck in what you're doing. Even if those young players don't end up being as good as DeMar, Levine, Sabonis, it's at least selling. I won't even say selling because I do really think that it's building towards something as opposed to trying to get the most or squeeze the rest of the juice out of whatever these guys have. And I don't know. It just to me feels like that's the better way of building this thing out instead of, I just don't know where that collection of guys can really top off at.
On the other side, we keep conversation going with Chris Watkins. We talk Kings dysfunction. Where does it land compared to some of the other teams? And Malik Monk, what should happen with the King of Kings next season? Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Friday night, Kings and Clippers. Game night with Scott Marsh and the high flyer Henry Turner starts at 5:30. Tip-off at 7.
The Kings play here on Sactown Sports.
Sactown Sports, 1140.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on YouTube.com/Sactown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sactown Sports app.
Chris Watkins joins us, and Kyle and I had this conversation. I was trying to make Kings fans feel better, Chris, about what the Kings have gone through. And the question was, everything that's happened this season with the Nuggets, the Mavericks, the Suns, does that make you feel any better? Or does that make the Kings look any less dysfunctional than maybe you thought 3 months ago when it was really just the Kings who had made these moves, right? I mean, they've been one-upped in every category. Somebody moved a player, somebody moved a more successful coach. Now the Kings did both, but I mean, hang with me here. Do they feel a little dysfunctional, less dysfunctional now?
No, they don't. I in that, Frank, I'm like, I do think it's a totally legitimate question. Like, me and Chris Biederman were talking about it yesterday in the A's clubhouse, or in the dugout. Like, I think that two wrongs don't make a right. Like, that's really how I view it, is just because these other franchises did things that are also stupid doesn't mean that your decision was any less dumb. I think that it's all independent, decisions. And I will say in general, I think that the Kings, frankly, have been saved by those franchises. Like, I think a lot more people would be talking about the De'Aaron Fox trade if the Luka Doncic trade doesn't happen. I think a lot of more people would be talking about Mike Brown and Doug Christie, or the Doug Christie era, and how maybe the Kings fired Mike because they thought they would take off, and then they go 500 through 40 games or whatever it is. And Phoenix has definitely saved them from that, because frankly, if the Kings fall out of the play-in, which they would have if the Phoenix Suns could have just played to their talent level.
Spurs,
and
too.
it's the Spurs, you could argue. Yeah, if Wemby and if Wemby never gets hurt, and they play De'Aaron the rest of the year, who knows? Like, I think that the Kings have definitely, from a just kind of from a PR perspective, I guess, have definitely been saved by these other franchises making really questionable moves, because we know the national media already doesn't really pay attention to what goes on here in Sacramento. And I think in a way, like, that is kind of saved them because people would rather hear about what's going on with Kevin Durant and Mike Budenholzer. The people would rather talk about Nico Harrison and his massive blunder. Obviously, that ties into the Lakers. And, again, I just think the Kings have really been fortunate that all of these insane moves have happened, because I think, frankly, I think there should be a much brighter light shown on the decisions that they made. But, luckily they have squeezed into the play-in. If they do win those two play-in games, as I was saying before, could do more damage than good. Like, that's going to do a lot of good. Like, we can't just blow through, oh, yeah, like, they make the play-in but then get swept, like, as I tried to do 20 minutes ago. Like, those two wins in the play-in will get you some sort of national notoriety. People will have to talk about it and will say, wow, like, the Kings, again, like, had their backs to the wall. They could have given up and instead persevered, fought, won these two play-in games. Like, it's going to be short-lived, but there will be a little bit of good press, I guess, if they can accomplish that. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely think in a way your question's fair.
Second time this has happened to Malik Monk. Feel really bad for the guy. Happened last season, now it's happening again this season. What are your thoughts on, obviously, feel bad for him as a human, but what are your thoughts on how this could affect his future with the Kings? Kind of struggled before.
Yeah.
Injuries, and now we're here with the absence of him in another playing situation. How does that affect him going forward, regardless of whether DeMar or not?
Yeah, and you're just talking about in Sacramento mainly, like how it's like,
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's maybe something to consider for sure. Like, more so like minutes load, I think could maybe be a question. Like, these are, I can double check it, but I'm pretty sure these past couple seasons have been the most minutes that Malik has played in his career. Maybe it is a question of, can his body withstand that kind of work? Malik is a little bit of a thinner frame, if you will. And let's see here. Yeah, I mean, his 3 years in Sacramento, 77 games, 72 games, 65. He had only played over 72 games twice in his 5 seasons before, or 5 seasons before that. His second year in the league, and then the year that he played with the Lakers. And even then, looking at the minutes load, this season, was his second most minutes played behind that Lakers season. And, the season before he joined Sacramento, LeBron went down. I believe AD went down as well. So that Laker team was kind of going really deep into their bench, and Malik was a really big piece of it. Bigger point is, I think it's definitely something to consider. But I kind of think that, they value Malik pretty highly. I think especially as a culture guy, a guy in the locker room, Malik's always talking about keeping the locker room light. I don't know if he's going to be the starting point guard next season, but I think that they more than likely will just view this as maybe we can't rely on him, to that level. We more so from a health perspective. Maybe we should try and bring him off as a sixth man and, just again, try and lighten his workload, because maybe you could argue there are two freak accidents. Luka falling on his leg last year, and then I don't even really think we saw what happened to Malik with this injury. It just kind of feels like a little bit of a freak accident, but I kind of think it's something to consider for sure.
Last one for you, Chris. I know you're not really too thrilled with the play-in situation, but is there a team that you would like to see if the Kings, and I don't want to sleep on the Mavericks, like we might be disrespecting them a little bit, sure, but assuming they get past the Mavericks, who's the team that you would feel the best, which would mean the Kings will probably lose this game, but who would you feel the best going up against for the Sacramento Kings?
I guess the Timberwolves. There's not really much logic behind it. I mean, the Grizzlies, they found a little bit of form here. They've won 3 straight since firing their coach. I don't know if they've figured something out. Golden State, I just don't want to play them, Allen. I just don't literally want to see them. And the Clippers, I think, are a really, really tough test. I just think that's a really good team. Kawhi is playing period right now, but he's also playing like really, really well. Him and James Harden are working off each other really well. And then we saw Denver last night. Like, there's a chance that I think they could compete with Denver, but realistically, like, I think I was telling Frankie the other day, like, I'm just probably scarred from that Steph Curry 50-point game in Game 7. I just really don't want, and Anthony Edwards, I guess, falls into this category, but playing these super-duper mega stars who can just single-handedly win a one-game playoff or play-in, I guess, that really makes me nervous. And again, I know Anthony Edwards is definitely capable of doing that, but it feels like, how I feel about Julius Randle. Rudy Gobert, I think everybody kind of shares the same thoughts on him. It just feels like that team has a little bit more self-combustion, I guess. Yes. Like that team feels like in a one-game situation, they can lay an egg. And I don't know if the Warriors would do that, even though we saw them do it last year. I just don't think the Clippers would do it. And, Denver, again, like I'm afraid those two teams that just fired their coach kind of have a little bit of wind behind their sails right now.
Chris Watkins, you know him, you love him. Thanks for everything Chris does.
No problem.
One of our top editors here. Go check out all of his work, SactownSports.com, and on our Sactown Sports Instagram. Chris, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon, man.
Yeah, anytime, man.
On the other side, we keep the conversation going, and we have some sound from Sam Amick from the morning.